So, the Skrull found a habitable planet other than Earth. That's interesting. Secret invasion. Anyway, before I begin, the usual disclaimers. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the Marvels, you might want to stop the video here. You've been warned. And, as the title of this video will suggest, these are my first impressions of the movie. I just saw it last night. It's fresh on my mind. My opinions on the movie might change later on. Alright? Okay, and one more thing before we begin, one more fun little thing I want to point out. On 2019, actor Zoe Ashton, who plays Dar-Benn in this movie, was in a play in New York called Betrayal. And during Halloween at that time, her and her co-stars got dressed like Marvel characters. Specifically, her co-stars were Charlie Cox, Daredevil, and Tom Hiddleston, Loki. And for that particular Halloween, they dressed up as each other's characters. All the while, Zoe Ashton dressed up as Captain Marvel. On a slightly related note, 3 years before she was casted as Miss Marvel, Iman Vellani was Miss Marvel for Halloween. So the moral of the story is, dress for the job you want, not for the job that you have. Anyway, so that's it. Let's talk about this movie. So early on, before the movie was officially released, there was allegedly a divide between reviewers and fans. This was further aggravated by the initial Rotten Tomatoes score, where the critics' score was really low, all the while the audience score was really high. Now, at the time that I am recording this, the critic score for the Marvels on Rotten Tomatoes has gone up. It's like 68% positive reviews. So that has already changed, but people keep asking me, why do I think this is? What is the divide between the critics and the fans? And to put it plainly, this movie is blatantly made for the fans. It is very much in the same vein as Avengers Infinity War, where it hits the ground running, and if you didn't watch the other movies, and you won't know what's going on. This is not made for you. This movie in no way takes any time, puts any time or energy to cater to casual viewers. Either you know the franchise or you don't. It just hits the ground running from the moment that Monica touches the anomaly in space. It takes off at a very fast pace, and it doesn't dedicate a lot of time to retreading over material that has already been covered in previous movies and or Disney Plus shows. It just takes off. If you're not familiar with that material, tough. We're taking off, we're telling this story, and we're doing it quickly, and we're gonna shoot you in the face with a lot of material, and a lot of things are gonna happen very quickly. So, for this reason, for the fact that the movie is so alienating to casual viewers or people who might be new to the franchise, is that I feel is the reasoning behind this particular divide between critics and fans. Again, I say this, and right now it seems like more and more positive reviews keep popping up, and for good reason. All right, so this movie does have some negative aspects. Obviously, you know, it would have a 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes if it was one of Marvel's best. However, it does have some setbacks, but I don't feel they're enough to ruin the enjoyment of the film. But for your enjoyment and for the sake of clarity, we'll be pointing them out. So I'm going to go over the bad points, the negative aspects of the movie, and then I'm going to close it out as per usual with the positive ones, because there's a lot of good stuff here, but the movie, of course, is not without its faults. So here we go. Here are some of the negatives. As I have already established, the pacing takes off in the middle of the movie, and unfortunately, a lot of the sequences in the movie suffer for it. And there are a lot of sequences that just go by too fast. Like, for example, that entire section of the movie where they're on the water planet, it just felt like they were moving at breakneck speed, just trying to get through that part and get to the next part as quickly as possible. And this, and basically what I'm trying to say is that this movie has the exact same problem as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Thor: Love and Thunder, where all three of these movies feel like they weren't in development very long. Like they didn't really take their time developing these movies. And all three of them, either in full or in sections, feel rushed. Unnecessarily, I should add. And I say this, and I want to clarify that out of those three movies, The Marvels is the best one. It's still great, but it still suffers from a lot of the same problems. Which tells me that with these three movies being directed by three very different directors, with three very different styles, that the problem is not the directors, and is the management, totally on Kevin Feige. So, or whomever is approving these edits. So there you go. Make of that what you will. This movie is an hour and 45 minutes. Why? Why is it so short? It's a sequel, and on top of that, it's called The Marvels, meaning that there are three primary characters that the movie has to dedicate time to. Take as much time as you need. A 2-hour movie is pretty standard. There's no reason why this needed to be an hour 45. Those extra 15 minutes would have helped a lot, especially since the pacing, like I said, at times, is so quick. So many things in this movie that I felt would have flowed a little better if they would have expanded upon that, or just used 5 more minutes. Just dedicated 5 more minutes to that, and it would have been better. Like I said, the pacing of a lot of the action sequences is just too fast. Not that the action sequence is bad, but it would be so much better if they just let it breathe. If they just let the moments, let each beat of the fighting sequence hit. Like a Jackie Chan fighting scene. Every kick, every punch has a beat to it. Boom, 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 moment. Fight, 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 moment. Yeah, a lot of the action sequences in this movie just felt horrifically rushed and just fast, and just, we're gonna get through this as quickly as possible. Clever, cool, creative stuff. But, like I said, it could have been paced a lot better. In my opinion, the best action sequence in this movie, the one that has excellent pacing, and I wish the rest of the action sequences would have flowed in the same way, was the first one, where our three lead characters are fighting 2 Kree warriors in the Khan's house. And of course, every time they use their powers, they tag out and are replaced by another person, and the fight has to go on. And suddenly the fight changes because of the different style or the different circumstances. But that to me had just a beautiful flow. You can count the beats, as it went along. Just gorgeous, well done, well choreographed. Everybody working in unison perfectly. So all I want is more of that throughout the whole movie. And I had a very similar criticism for Shang-Chi, which is a movie that I absolutely love and is great, and I can't recommend it enough. However, the best fight scene is the first one, the one in the bus. And in interviews and behind-the-scenes featurettes, Simu Liu revealed that they spent a month working just on that one sequence. And it shows, because it's awesome. So logic would dictate that they spent more time in that fight, working on that fight at the Khan's house than they did on the other fights in this movie. Like, I feel like they just ran out of time. It's the way it feels. But again, not something that ruins the experience of the movie as a whole. Also, another thing that I think could have been a lot better, the villain, Dar-Ben, I thought was really one-dimensional, bland, one-note villain, which is very disappointing at this stage in the Marvel movies. She reminded me a lot of the villain from Thor: The Dark World, Malekith the Accursed, who was played by Christopher Eccleston, who's an amazing actor, but they just didn't use him. They didn't give him enough to do. They didn't give his role that much nuance. He just shows up, and he's the bad guy, and he just wants to destroy things just cuz. And that's the way Dar-Ben came across. Like, she's just a bad guy for being a bad guy's sake. And yeah, Captain Marvel showed up, destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, and quote-unquote ruined their society, so she wants revenge. But again, this is the same Supreme Intelligence that turned the Kree race into the Kree Empire by making them into a warlike race for whom all of their advancements come from conquering other planets and other races. So that Supreme Intelligence needed to fucking die, alright? So what Carol did was justified. So allegedly, this sets off a chain reaction where their society crumbles, they lose their atmosphere, their oceans start to run dry, and their sun starts to go out, okay? However, according to the Marvel timeline, this took between 25 to 30 years. So that's 25 to 30 years that Dar-Ben could have spent fixing the Supreme Intelligence, building another one that doesn't lead its people and mold them into a military race that just conquers other planets and solves their problems by stealing other people's shit. No, she doesn't do that. She spends those 25 to 30 years looking for this fucking bangle so she can use it to primarily get revenge on Captain Marvel by destroying planets, by specifically stealing the resources of and henceforth destroying planets that are important to her. And yet, she keeps referring to Carol as the Annihilator, even though all she did was destroy, basically, a dictator that was an AI, a computerized dictator. She just went in and took him out. But she's physically going by and actually destroying planets. Instantaneously. Again, what Carol did took 25 years plus to take effect. What she's doing is instantaneous. These places are ruined right away. And yet she is the one calling Carol the Annihilator, even though obviously that nickname fits her a lot more. So I'm not saying that the character is stupid. I'm not saying that the movie's badly written. I'm just saying that all of that could be fixed, and that character's actions could be justified by fleshing the character out. But as long as he's a one-dimensional, I'm just a bad guy and I'm angry and I just want revenge and I don't care whose neck I step on in the process of getting it, as long as she is that, it doesn't work. But if they just flesh out the character, hence going back to the fact that if this movie just had 15 more minutes, that's literally just 5 minutes that they could dedicate to Dar-Ben, and Just make her a better character. Explain why she's so xenophobic. Explain why she feels that the only way to help her people is through destruction. Where literally, Monica just hears about the problem of their sun going out and instantaneously, in seconds, comes up with a solution. The fact that these solutions exist, but she ignored them, speaks a lot about the character, but we don't have that information. Why is she like this? And if this was just your standard action-adventure franchise, where the point of it was to elevate and promote the main star of the franchise, it would be okay, but it's a Marvel movie, and Marvel is known for its characters. And with other extraordinary villains like Thanos, Gore the God Butcher, the High Evolutionary, that were performed by actors, extraordinary actors, that brought so much depth and expanded those characters to such a high degree, we expect more. And it just feels like they just wasted Zoe Ashton's time. Like, she is such a great actor, and she could have done so much more, but they really didn't give her much to do. Just, you're an angry bad guy, you want revenge, go. So yeah, that could have been a lot better. And on the subject of that backstory and her reasoning for wanting revenge, another gripe that I have with the movie is that we really should have seen that scene where Carol destroys the Supreme Intelligence. That was a major villain, a major obstacle in the first movie. Her confronting the Supreme Intelligence is a huge moment. So I think the movie should have started from Carol's point of view, moments after the first movie ended, with her, after she dropped off the scroll on their new planet. She would have made a beeline to the Kree homeworld, to Hala, and confronted the Supreme Intelligence and heroically defeated. And then later in the movie would have seen the same events, but from Dar-Ben's point of view. And from her point of view, no, Carol wasn't the hero in that. She was the villain. And that would have been awesome. Again, 15 minutes they could have used. But no, 1:45. What? An hour 45. Why is this movie so short for the type of movie that it is? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway. So yeah, those are the end of my gripes. That's the end of my meaningless fanboy rants. Let's talk positive, because there are a lot of positives. Now, why, in spite of what I just said, is this movie still good? Is this movie still so enjoyable? Because the one aspect that needed to work, worked. And that is the Marvels. The main attraction, the titular attraction, lives up to the hype. The combination of Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, and Iman Vellani is awesome. 3 actors that were chosen for 3 other projects to play these roles, and somehow, miraculously, their chemistry is perfect. They're just beautiful when they're on screen together. And a concern usually going into these superhero team-up movies is that we're not going to get to see a lot of the heroes together. But here, you get so much in such a short amount of time. You get so much of these characters interacting, and it's so satisfying. And I want to take this opportunity to give some major props to screenwriter Megan McDonald, who came up with what I felt is one of the coolest, most unique and interesting gimmicks in movie history, which is that every time the heroes use their powers, they switch places. Now, why is this so brilliant? Because it solves 2 problems with a Captain Marvel sequel. Or with this particular movie, I should say. Number 1, Captain Marvel is so ridiculously powerful. How do you challenge her? Well, what if every time she used her powers, she teleported to a different location? That's great. She's still just as powerful. You're not diminishing the character. You're not violating any of the rules as far as her power set, as far as what was established in the previous movie, but you're still giving her a limitation and a weakness and an obstacle to overcome by the end of the movie. How do you justify her teaming up with these two other people? One that she has specifically been avoiding, and one who she's never met before and has nothing to do with outside of being her idol. They literally chained them together with this teleporting issue. So they don't teleport across the galaxy. It's better if they stay side by side. That was genius. And again, major props to Miss McDonald. Brilliant idea that solved two major problems that any screenwriter would have had with this movie. Also, as far as all the sequences of the three ladies together, my God, the sequence in Captain Marvel's ship when they are training and figuring out how to work with this sudden impediment of teleporting, of switching spots every time they use their powers, all set to the tune of Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys, who is a rap group comprised of 3 individuals. Awesome. One of the funnest, coolest montages in any movie, not just in the Marvel movies. Loved it. Just beautiful work from everybody. I love how much Kamala's family were included. Yosef, Monima, and Ahmed. Those actors, those characters were so well done for the Miss Marvel show. It's definitely something that gave that franchise an edge, made it different from all the others. And one of the things that makes Kamala so unique from all the other Marvel characters is she has such a very specific, close-knit family. And I'm so glad that they were included in so much of the movie. The moment that they cut back to Nick Fury, and Nick Fury was on the space elevator going back to the Saber base, and the cons were in the elevator with him, I was like, yes, this is going to be great. I didn't know what was going to happen yet, but I knew it was going to be great because you add one of those characters to any moment and it makes it better. And they are so absolutely delightful, and I'm so glad that the creators of this movie saw the value in those characters and decided to utilize them as much as possible. So pleased. I think this movie's greatest strength is after we've had so many Marvel movies that have just been so full of melancholy and have been so sad, like Wakanda Forever and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, we needed something to decompress. And this is the perfect movie for that. This movie is nonstop fun. Oh my God. Especially, again, after Monica touches the anomaly and their problem begins. If the original Captain Marvel movie is the main course, this movie is dessert. Like nonstop dessert. Like the most delicious big dessert you've ever had. And it just keeps going. It's just one fun montage, action sequence, cool conversations, cool new settings, just one fun thing after the other. All of a sudden it's a musical. It just one cool fun thing after the other. All the while staying true to these characters. So if you just want to go and have a good time, if you just want a fun popcorn movie, this is the movie for you. My sister and I went to the movies together, went to see it together, and she had just come home from a long day of work. And she got here, and she only had enough time to hit the bathroom real quick, jump in the car, and go to the movies. And she was beat. And we got there, and all that went out the window. It was just like the moment the movie takes off, it takes off like a bullet, and it's just nonstop fun. So if you just want something to decompress and laugh and feel good, this is the movie for you. So the question is going around, should there be a third Captain Marvel movie or a second Marvels movie, however you want to call it? Do I want a third installment to this franchise? Fuck yes. Why not? Captain Marvel deserves her 3. She has 2 awesome movies under her belt so far. Why not a third one? Hell yeah. Give me one more. Especially if Monica and Kamala are going to be in it. Hell yeah, let's go for it. One criticism that I've heard is that there are certain moments in the movie where Brie Larson stops being the main character and Teyonah Parris and Iman Vellani steal her thunder. And honestly, I'm okay with that because it's no longer Captain Marvel 2, it's the Marvels. All 3 of them are sharing the marquee, so for that reason, that doesn't bother me as much. And honestly, there's no shame in being outdone or outperformed by 2 performers as extraordinary as Iman Vellani and Teyonah Parris, even if they don't have Oscars and Brie Larson has an Oscar. It doesn't matter. That's just a statue that was given to her by a committee of people who don't judge her performances in all of her movies. She can't always be the best at every moment. And again, no shame in being outdone by 2 other extraordinary performers. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, here we go. This is Zero Barrier. We're about to go into super duper spoiler territory. So if you decided to ride the lightning and watch this video anyway, in spite of my 2 spoiler warnings, I can't help you anymore because I'm going to talk about the stuff that's super ultra mega spoiler territory, specifically the cameos that we get at the end of the movie. First cameo, not that big of a spoiler because there's a trailer out there that gives this away, but Valkyrie. We see Valkyrie return, the king, or should I say queen, but she prefers to be called king, of Asgard, of New Asgard. Awesome to see that in spite of Carol's solitude, she still has friends out there. She still has connections. She can still call upon Avengers or Defenders if she needs them. So that was really cool. That was a wonderful surprise. I knew exactly who it was going to be the moment that the Bifrost came cutting through space and about to hit Carol's ship. I was, oh, it's Valkyrie. So wonderful, wonderful to see her. All right, here we go. So, Kate Bishop. Bro, I found her. And on top of that, not just Kate Bishop, who I absolutely adore. Oh, she's out of frame. Hold on. Kate Bishop, who I absolutely adore. But the whole scene is a parody of the final scene from Iron Man, the first Marvel movie, where Nick Fury comes out of the shadows and recruits Tony Stark. How the hell did Kamala know the exact dialogue that transpired during that very private scene? Well, guys, she's just a mega fan. And her knowledge of the Marvel Universe transcends our own. End of story. But wonderful scene, wonderful exchange, wonderful implications to either the Young Avengers or the New Avengers. And yes, I definitely want to see a movie or anything or a Disney Plus show or something with Kamala Khan and Kate Bishop and maybe Yelena Belova, the new Black Widow, and Cassie Lang and America Chavez. We've gotten a lot of great next generation characters, and I hope this comes to pass because they've done such a great job of establishing these characters. It's time to do something with them. And the second and most shocking cameo in the movie, one that made the entire audience in my theater gasp, Beast. And not just Beast from X-Men, but Beast being played, or at least voiced, by Kelsey Grammer. As most of you know, I've said this many times before in the past, there's only a handful of comic book character castings that I feel are perfect. Like, that character was custom made for that actor. And Kelsey Grammer as Beast is one of them. He doesn't even have to wear the makeup. He just plays the scene and I just see him as Beast. That's how perfect the role is for him. So, hinting at the possibility that we're going to see Kelsey Grammer as Beast or more of the actors from the classic X-Men movies, from the original X-Men movies, I should say, return is wonderful. We know we're going to get Hugh Jackman again in Deadpool 3, but just the implication that we're going to get more of him and possibly Patrick Stewart and Famke Janssen and James Marsden, and more actors from those movies, that is wonderful, and I can't wait to see where they go with this. We know it's going to be a multiverse thing because of the upcoming Secret Wars movie that they're making, and with this being the multiverse saga, it will more than likely be an adaptation of the 2015 Secret Wars as opposed to the 1984 Secret Wars, which are awesome. Love that comic. Can't recommend it enough. Anyway, so the #1 question that I got after I watched this movie was, what the hell was Maria wearing at the end of the movie where she took off her comfy blanket and had this funny white and orange uniform underneath? What the hell is that outfit, ERod? What was that about? That is Carol Danvers' binary costume. One of Carol Danvers' many superhero identities that she had before she landed on Captain Marvel, because through most of the character's existence, she was written by middle-aged white dudes who didn't know what the hell to do with the character. There you go. I hope that cleared everything up. So, those were my silly fanboy thoughts on this movie that I enjoyed the hell out of, and I cannot wait to see again. Agree, disagree? Feel free to say so in the comment section below, but as per usual, I ask you, please be civil with one another, respect each other's opinions and comments. We're all on the same team. Higher, further, faster, baby.